I'm sorry.
That's a good reaction.
Mm-hmm.
How's the reaction?
It's like a...
Come on, dude.
I'm a great actress. Will you do it again?
It's good. Look at how bad my hair was, and
That's how they styled it also.
look at it standing up back there.
Yeah, they did a terrible job. That gift gets used a lot, actually.
It's very funny. It looks like a fake head of hair.
Hey, Bagel, do you want to be part of this? How are you going to look on camera? Oh.
No. Can we still hear them? Oh, we can't hear the movie at all. How come?
I don't think we're supposed to be able to. Because it's only one mic. It's not like... We're only hearing what's on the mic.
I see.
She may attack us because we'll be speaking loudly. That was too
Is there
much.
anybody in the car?
Yeah, I think so.
It's going on to 13.
Here, should I turn off one of the lights? Do you think it's too bright in here?
No, this is good. You look great.
Bagel. Caffeine, and I'm staying up all night. All night. I wonder if they're gonna let all the credits run.
I think they do. What? I'm just trying to respond to everybody. I'm gonna do this thing tomorrow where I'm gonna be like, hey, everybody who sees the movie, say something to me on Twitter, and I'll literally try and respond to every single person.
Is that what I'll have to do too?
Hmm?
Is that what I'll have to do too?
You?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. If you want to, you can. I'm staying up all night.
Just staring at us.
Stupid enough to believe.
I could just kiss you. Oh,
Oh, sorry. You're right. That was not cool.
not cool,
Oh,
Bagel.
here we go.
This is terrible timing for her to be a freak.
I made it.
She was going there and she wanted to be a freak. Let's see if this will help.
Okay.
Usually you're right. Oh,
Hello. All right, Kumail and Emily, you are... All right, just give it up for these guys and for the Big Sick. Let them hear it. All right, I'm not sure if you... I'm not sure if you can hear that or not, but they loved the movie, didn't you guys? All right. So we're going to take some questions from the audience in a second, but I just wanted to ask, I think everyone pretty much knows at this point that this was based on some things that happened to you guys in real life, but I'm just curious, how did the conversation start between you guys that we should make a movie out of this?
Just so,
Yeah.
Can I mention?
Yeah, we need to bring up a couple things.
Well, we've been drinking apple juice all night.
Excellent.
How did it come up, Emily?
About 5 years ago, which was about 5 years after the events of the movie, we kind of started kind of talking about maybe turning this into something, because you can't really make this story up. And so we were like, if anyone's going to make this movie, it's going to be us, because no one else, I don't think anyone else has been through this experience. If they have, they should.
It's having somebody come up with like a Pakistani guy falling in love with a American woman who's in a coma. You'd have to be a kind of sick fuck to come up with that. Oh my God, my cat's attacking me. Hold on, Emily, answer this question. I'll be right back.
So, and then also Judd Apatow was like, we told him, are you taking her somewhere?
I'm gonna burn them.
Okay. Judd Apatow was like, this should be the movie that you guys should write. And when Judd Apatow tells you to do something, you do it. So that's how it came up.
All right, that's excellent. Now, just for my own, indulge me for a moment, but I have to ask about two specific things in the movie that I'm very curious if they have any basis in reality. One is the one-man show, and this other is the graveyard photo shoot. Do either of these, please tell me at least the latter was based in reality.
One is way more accurate than the other, but they're both fairly accurate.
Yeah, I was a goth kid for my entire teenage years, and I got to style Zoe for that photo shoot, which was one of the great joys of my life.
Emily directed that photo shoot.
My Throwback Thursdays are tight, you guys. They're real tight.
Her Throwback Thursday game is tight. And we had to tone down Zoe's outfits from the actual reference photos that were Emily's life.
But what about the one-man show, Camille?
Let's not talk about the one-man show.
He definitely had a one-man show.
Oh, let's please talk about the one-man show. I would love to hear about the one-man show.
So I did have a one-man show that I wrote and performed. Actually, in real life, it happened right after the events of the movie. And I'll say, it was 10 years ago. I'm proud of it. It was pretty good.
Will there be, potentially some video on the DVD or the Blu-ray, perhaps some special features? That would be great. I would love that. Would you guys like to see the one-man show on the Blu-ray? The Alamo Drafthouse has decided that footage.
So many lives from man show. So many lives left.
Well, I'll tell you this: that one-man show was the one-man show I was doing. I did for a little bit, and then I stopped. But it's also based on Mike Showalter, who's the director of the movie. My first job was sort of writing for a TV show that he had called Michael of Issues with him and Michael Ian Black. And I wrote a sketch for them that was basically like, the premise of the sketch was when you watch a one-man show, you don't need to see the whole thing because the last sentence encapsulates everything all the lessons you need to learn from the one-man show are in the last line. So we'd sort of done this sketch where Michael Showalter releases a DVD that's just like the last lines of a bunch of one-man shows. And we just had so much fun with it. It was kind of like there was one that was like about this pregnant ballerina called Dancing for Two. We made a one-man show.
I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but
we can see it. Oh, nice. Those look like... that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, so many tears, rips.
Those are some very legit tears. That's excellent. Awesome. All right, excellent. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me bring someone over from the audience. First in line, come over here and just introduce yourself and speak loudly into this microphone.
Sure. Hello, I'm Amanda Wilkinson. Very nice to see you both. Hi. So I have a question for both Kumail and Emily. The first question is for Kumail. What would you say would be your most significant word or phrase that is the most meaningful to you? And if you may, perhaps explain it in Urdu.
Wait, what word is most significant to me?
Or phrase.
Oh my God. Do you have
something
a word
that you live by each and every day?
Ooh.
Oh my God. And what's your question for Emily?
So he can buy some time.
Yeah.
So Emily, well, both of you, your story is not as effed up as you believe, because I actually feel like this entire story is the exact reverse of my life. So it's very significant to me, actually. But Emily, for you, during the...
Does that mean that you've been in a coma for every day except for 8 days of your life?
I almost wish. No, I was actually in a very bad accident 10 years ago. I was almost paralyzed. I was in a wheelchair for 11 months. And the exact family that took care of me was the love of my life at that moment, who was an immigrant to this country.
Oh,
so
wow.
Your exact story is the most amazing and most significant. So the word and meaning or phrase to you I wish to know. And Emily, for you, I would say the most vulnerable moment that you may have had during your progression after post-disease or everything that you went through.
I mean, you kind of live in a vulnerable space, I think. If you've been sick, I think you kind of end up living in a vulnerable space. And there was one day in my hospital room where I dropped something, and I was really upset that I had dropped it because I just didn't have my coordination. And a nurse was really lovely and kind of explained to me, like, it's okay. Who gives a shit? You dropped something. It doesn't matter. And that was a really lovely moment for me to kind of be like, oh, okay, maybe it is okay that I am like not as tough as I normally am and not that girl with all the rips in her shirts right now. I think that was a vulnerable moment.
Yeah, because when we see that picture, we think, what a badass.
Yeah. I was popping willies in my wheelchair, so I completely understand.
What do you have?
Oh my God, it's a tough question, but I would say, I don't know, like, not really a word, it's more of a, like, feeling maybe, because, I think as a guy, you're sort of taught, at least I was taught, that the only emotion that you're allowed to express is anger. And so for me, the challenge of my grown-up life has been trying to allow myself to feel the sadness and happiness and all of that, and not just have it go into anger. So I would say that's probably the thing that...
Let's say that in Urdu.
One word.
We don't have an Urdu word for feelings.
Fuck.
That tells you something.
All right, thank you so much. So real quick, to turn it back over just to the movie for a second, I was just curious, Emily, were you on set, and what was it like watching Zoe kind of portray you on screen? And how much was she portraying you versus portraying a character that you guys wrote together?
I was on set every day, I really wanted her. It was like pointless to do an impression of me because no one knows who I am, and so we didn't want her to show up like kind of pretending to be me. That would have been quite silly. So I really trusted her to create a character based on what was on the page. And then once we started hanging out, she's kind of said this, and I agree, the two of us kind of became mommies to this character of Emily. So the two of us together kind of created the character, even though she was the one kind of doing it.
It's a strange thing to say, that you guys are both mommies of yourself.
Yeah, a version of myself. But I thought she did a really good job, and that we have a similar laugh, and the laugh ends up in the movie quite a bit. And I think that's something that's most similar. But I wasn't looking for anyone to be me because, I mean, it would have been really, really significant for me and like my 8 family members that would have seen the movie.
By the way, did anyone notice Emily in the last scene of the movie? She's in the audience.
Yes, I spotted her, yeah.
when Emily heckles me.
I'm sitting next to Bo Burnham, and my storyline is that I've just started sleeping with Bo Burnham, who just recently moved to town. And I don't know why this woman is interrupting a comedy show I'm watching, but we'll see what happens.
that can be the sequel. That's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, and another thing that I found very interesting was that the actor Kumail who portrayed your father, Nupam Kher, that you said he was a huge star you looked up to growing up, and I think that's kind of lost on the American audience. Can you kind of fill them in on all of that?
Yeah, he's this Bollywood legend who I've been watching my whole life. I said this before, but this was his 500th film that he was in. This is his 500th film. And then he tweeted a couple weeks ago, I saw him tweet, he was like, just finished my 510th film. And I was like, you did 10 films? Just learn to say no, buddy.
You're a hard-working guy.
There's no way they're all good. I'm not, why am I throwing shade at Anupam? But he's in Silver Linings Playbook, and he's just one of those guys who can do everything. So we wanted him because, the Bollywood movies, you sort of have to do he's done drama and comedy and really, really broad comedy and the depressing stuff, and he's played bad guys, and he's played cops, and he's played clowns. So we knew he had the range to do everything, and he was all our first choice. I asked my dad, I was like, who do you want to play you in the movie? And he said, Anupam Kher. And I was like, you might as well have said like young Rock Hudson.
We got him.
We got it.
All right, well, let's get another one from the audience. Come on over, introduce yourself, and speak loud.
All right, hi guys. I'm Kritika, and Kumail, I kind of feel like I've had this similar experience to you as growing up. I grew up in India until I was 15, and then I moved here, but part of my family is still in India, so my grandparents are still there. And yeah, okay. So my boyfriend is white, and my grandmother's flipping a shit. And she refused to talk to me for 6 months, and then when she spoke to me, she was like, "Let me find you a nice Indian boy." And I was like, okay. So clearly your story ended out well. How did you kind of navigate introducing Emily to your family? And then Emily, when did it click with his family? When did you kind of say, okay, the ice is broken, we're good?
Well, I'll take the easier question because the easier question is mine. His family was so lovely about understanding that they never blamed me, which was something they could have easily done.
They blamed me.
They blamed me.
Yep.
And so to me, I think we all kind of just went in with like, oh, this is kind of a weird scenario. It's not what anyone kind of expected, but let's just make the best of it. And so we did. So I would say I feel like I clicked with, especially your mom, really, like most immediately. And they were so lovely to me. So that's the easier question.
Well, in real life, Emily and I, and today is actually our 10-year anniversary.
We've been married 10 years.
Congrats!
That's why we're drinking apples.
So basically 3 months after the events of the movie, Emily and I like walked into City Hall and got married.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I know. It was point, and they were like, "That's too ridiculous. Take that out." So we got married, and then 2 weeks after this, we flew to meet my parents, and that was kind of my way of being like, "Hey, she's now married to me.
Yeah.
She's
my God.
She's not going anywhere. So if you want to have a relationship with me, you know, we kind of have to do this." So they actually. Their way of accepting her, like, so when we went there, they threw like this they had like a Pakistani wedding for her because they didn't, you know, you have to have the Muslim ceremony to really be married. And there was a weird thing where the guy was marrying us, wouldn't marry someone named Emily, and we had, it's the whole thing. We gave her like a Pakistani name just for the day. And then my grandmother insisted on calling her Iman, and then I had to have my grandmother being like, "Hey, this is not going to work."
I think that's what's true about grandparents. They're the ones that hold on the hardest.
Oh yeah.
They're older and they're lovely human beings, and my advice to, you know, your boyfriend is for him to just be understanding and kind of be open-minded and be willing to be flexible. And my name is still Iman and parts of
Yeah,
That's awesome.
How long have you guys been dating?
A little over a year.
Oh, is he here?
Yeah, he's sitting somewhere over there. He's waving.
Just
All
Probably
right.
can't see him.
Be cool.
This is what I'm going to, write this down. You're not going to really understand it. Just trust her. It's
Just let it happen. Just let it happen. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Hey, come on over. All right, tell us your name and...
Hey guys, my name's Brian. I'm a huge fan of both of you, and my question is a little off topic, but it's a heavy hitter. Now that you're done working on this awesome movie, will you be returning with your podcast,
The
The
Indoor
Indoor Kids? Yes.
Emily?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the thing was, when we stopped doing it, people were like, why are you stopping? What else do you have going on? We were like, we're making a movie. And it took like a year and a half, and people were like, oh, they're just like taking time off. They're doing nothing. We were like, no, we're making a movie. It's like a real thing. It's going to be...
Wednesday was our first day off in over a year.
Yeah, we've really been working so much on this.
And the other bad part of that is that we don't get to play video games. We both go back to like our comfort video games instead of playing new ones. So we just started What Remains of Edith Finch.
Which is amazing.
Which is great.
Brian, have you played What Remains of Edith Finch?
Oh, The Vanishing of... Wait, no, I'm thinking of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. What was it?
Oh, that's
Very
very
similar.
funny. Yeah, it's called What Remains of Edith Finch.
It's
Nope.
really great.
It's on. It just came out on Xbox One, but it's out on PS4 and Steam and stuff. It's really, really great.
But that's the only new game that we played in like a while.
It's like, did you play Gone Home?
Yes, that game was dope.
Similar.
It's like Gone Home.
Walking simulator.
Okay.
Which I say with all respect.
Well, you just answered my second question, so thanks, guys. And the movie was awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks a bunch, man. Come on over. Come on over.
Hi, my name is Sara Ines. I just really appreciate the movie. My family's actually from Mexico, and so even though I don't have necessarily the Pakistani connection, a lot of the jokes were really funny, just kind of with that cultural layer. So thank you so much. And one thing I want to say is I actually have some of my friends, you know, quote unquote people of color, particularly interested in this film, just because you don't usually see like romantic leads that are men of color. And so I literally saw Mexican dudes being like, I can't wait to see this fucking movie because it's a brown guy that women want to have sex with. So
Hey, that's my whole life.
so yeah. So that's my question is like, what's that experience like? I mean, I follow some, you know, different, you know, women and people of color filmmakers on Twitter and such, and just kind of hearing about their experiences about how do you convince someone to write you a check to make this movie that's not like other movies in this very particular way. So that's it.
Well, for us, we were very lucky in that we had we had a mix of a few things, you know. We had like, we had Judd Apatow, who's like a really, really big comedy producer.
Oh, was that you explaining who Judd is?
So Judd Apatow, so Hollywood, which is where most American movies are made. So Judd wanted to make this movie, but even with Judd attached, we were able to get it made, but we were only able to get like a very, very small fraction of the money that Judd usually...
It's the cheapest movie that Judd's ever made. And
by like a factor of 6.
Because this was a gamble. Not only is it a movie about a girl in a coma, it's a movie also with a brown guy as a romantic lead, which we don't see very often. So they thought if they kept the budget small, people would be more willing to take a risk.
Well, it would be less of a risk, so we'd be able to do it. So I think what I'm hoping that things are changing in that I think, you know, we're seeing stuff that's made by people from different points of view, and we're seeing stuff like that actually be financially successful in the industry. So I think people are realizing that things made by people with specific points of view, that they're not for niche audiences, that there's no such thing really as a niche audience, that people are interested in stories from new perspectives. So I'm hoping that's changing. But, you know, I mean, I think you just have to, like, sort of try and do what you want to do and try and do it with, like, a small amount of money. Like, it's possible. Like, did you see Tangerine?
We've lost her, but I bet she did see Tangerine, and I'll speak for her, and it was fantastic.
Tangerine's a great movie, and it was made for nothing. So I would.
And on the 28th of this month, the incredible Jessica James is coming out, which is a movie starring Jessica Williams, and that's going to come out on Netflix. And I think Netflix is going to be able to kind of put out a lot of movies that are a smaller budget that people wouldn't take risks on normally. So I'm hoping to see more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think Netflix and Amazon, because of them, you're able to hopefully make movies that don't have the same like bar for success that you know, studio movies.
And then when they surpass that bar of success, people aren't like, oh, it's such a fluke. It's not a fluke. They're just good movies.
And you know, you mentioned Judd Apatow. Aside from helping get the movie made, I mean, how is he involved, or was he involved in the writing process, and how did that change the film?
He sort of mentored us through it. He like gave us notes.
For 3 years, we worked on the script for 3 years, and every few months we would take him a draft, and he gave us copious notes always. He would kind of really, really tear the movie down and kind of tear it apart every single time, and was very experimental. And so we got very comfortable through him of just experimenting. And, you know, in this version, trying like a version where Emily's parents are this kind of people. Try a version where Kumail has this job. And he really, really drilled that into us of like making sure that we never feel too precious with the actual events that happened so we can make the best movie.
Hey, what's all this sticky shit on your computer, Emily?
I dropped a piece of fruit on my
computer. Like, if that's sticky shit on my computer, we know what that is. But okay.
Anyway, continue. Tell me what Doug. Oh,
yeah. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. He was. you know, he's very hard in his scripts. I think the way he works is that he sort of develops with a lot of different people, and you kind of have to like keep working to get in front of him, to like get a meeting with him. So like you send.
Yeah, we never had deadlines. Like it was never a thing of like bring this back to me in a few months. So if we had just not finished a draft, it would have just gone away.
Yeah, you kind of like you go in, he gives you, he like tears it apart, and then it's on you to like write up the new draft, contact him, try and get a meeting with him because he's super busy. So you kind of have to like keep working. And it wasn't until I remember we would go in for these, we'd think like we did a really great draft, and we'd go in, and he would sit there and he would have the script sitting in front of him, but he would never open it, and he would just sort of pontificate on what a movie should be. Like that's how bad it was.
That's how we knew we were not doing a great job.
And I remember 3 years in when he started like opening the script and pointing at specific parts, it was like, oh, we're making progress. It's actual like.
All right, great. Let's take another one from the audience. Go ahead. Come on over.
Hi, my name is Chloe, and I am so thrilled to be able to ask you these questions because usually after a movie ends, I have all these questions about where the story goes, and now I can actually ask you where the story really went. So Emily, I was just wondering, what made you turn the corner and want to go to New York and follow him after you rejected him after coming out of the coma?
Well, in real life, and this is where we kind of took some creative license that Judd was very helpful for. In real life, Kumail and I never broke up. We were very casually dating when I got sick. And then when I came out of being sick, I suddenly had this man who was like head over heels in love with me, whereas before he was like, I don't know, I might be busy on Friday, I'm not sure.
I don't plan. I had shit going on.
So that's one thing we kind of turned up the volume on. And so in real life, instead of me following him to New York, we moved to New York together with absolutely no money and lived in absolute poverty for about 2.5 years.
Well, we lived in absolute poverty for about 1.5 years,
Yeah.
and then I got a job.
Yeah, and I had a job as a therapist, but therapy does not pay the bills that well. So in real life, we were a little bit more of a team than we are in the movie because it just kind of makes it a little more cinematic. But it was still a pretty big leap, and we were broke as shit.
Yeah, so that's sort of what we did. Like, you know, we wrote the first draft of the script exactly as it happened, and then we were just like, let's try and make the best movie we can and divorce this from ourselves so that it's not our story, it's just a story. And we knew how we wanted it to feel. We knew what the emotional core of it was because we'd lived through it. But sometimes to, like, get what?
You're just cute. Go ahead.
But sometimes to, like, I think get people to feel how you felt going through something, you have to, like, make certain changes and dial some things up and sort of take some things out. Right. So that's kind of what we felt like. Because in real life, for instance, you know, the experience of Emily being sick, most of it was, you know, that scene where Ray's talking about how much he loves Forrest Gump. You remember that scene?
Yeah.
That's how most of it was just like you're sitting in a waiting room waiting to talk to a doctor who'll give you like 1.5 minutes of their time and just walk away. And it's a lot of waiting and frustration. So for the movie, we kind of had to
stagger that out a little.
Yeah, we kind of had to like figure out the rhythm of it and stuff. And so that was one of the things was, you know, once Emily woke up, we had a challenge in that in real life we were in different stages of the same relationship. But in a movie,
you want to like crank that up and get them even further apart.
Yeah, you want to get them further apart.
Right, understandable. Okay, one last quick question. So, Kumail, does your mom really tilt her head back and forth like that, like she did in the movie?
My mom doesn't, but that's actually because the woman who plays my mom is
Zenobia Shroff.
Zenobia Shroff is Indian, and that's sort of an Indian.
It is a Hindu dance. Yes, I know it.
Yeah, it's like I can't do it. No, I can do it.
It is. Yeah.
Emily, you can't do it. It's racist if you do it.
Certainly not.
Here, look, do it, Emily.
No, thank you.
Do it.
Not gonna get trapped into that.
Do the bobblehead.
I'm a good person. Do it.
Okay.
How long did it take you to recover from being the black sheep of the family?
You know, the weird thing was that we sort of show in the movie is that even though I was the one who kept making mistakes and messing up, I was still somehow like the favorite son.
That is true.
That's what sucks for my brother is that he's done everything right and he's still not the favorite son. So we wanted to sort of show that sort of thing where in the movie everyone's kind of focused on me, and that's kind of how it is in real life. I think it took until probably earlier this year for me to not be the black sheep. Now that the movie's coming out, they're so excited. I think before that, my whole family was like, "What is he doing with his life?"
No.
All right, we have time for one more audience question. Come on over.
Cool. So my name's Kevin, and my question is, what was the most difficult part about deciding how to portray your family members and your in-laws in the movie? I would imagine there would be some pitfalls there, maybe difficult waters to navigate.
I think it was Judd's suggestion that there be a past affair storyline with my parents. And I had a very knee-jerk, because that is absolutely not based in reality whatsoever.
That we know of. We don't know.
Really? Never.
We don't know what your dad's been up to.
Yeah. So that was something I kind of knee-jerk resisted at first, and was like, I don't want to show my parents like that, and that's not who they are. And I'm really glad it's in there, because I think it really, really does a great job of mirroring that, like, relationships are always work, and you're always trying to navigate some kind of interesting waters.
And that people make mistakes.
And I also think it would have been way more awkward if my dad actually had an affair with my mom, and suddenly I just put it in a movie. That would have been awful. And so I think for me, that was probably the most difficult part for me. Yes. What about you?
For me, I didn't, my parents are closer to my parents than Emily's parents are to her parents in the movie. So it was, honestly, the weirdest thing was writing stuff that they would say to me. In writing their dialogue, I understood their perspective on my life a little more than I ever had before. So that was actually pretty eye-opening. A lot of the dialogue between me and my parents is kind of taken from real life. Like, it's actually based on stuff that they've said to me and stuff that I've said to them. But in having to actually type out the stuff that I've heard them say to me and try and, like, understand their perspective, I actually understood their perspective a little bit more. So for me, it can be very easy for, like, the immigrant family to sort of be rigid and sort of from the old world and all that stuff. But we wanted to show that. We wanted to show their perspective too, that they're in a new country, and they're, the struggle to hold on to your culture in a world that doesn't value that culture or that identity is sort of a noble and difficult struggle. So we really wanted to show that, first of all, that my family is a family that has fun and there's actual love and there's specific relationships, but also that their concern for Kumail's life comes from actual love. It doesn't come from, like, sort of a rigidity. It actually comes from love. So that's what we always wanted to show with my family.
And I wanted to say real quick Easter egg. The art that's behind us here is all from Dave Klock, who is an artist that did art for the stand-up show that we used to do every week in LA, and we've done it at the Highball in Austin.
It's called The Meltdown, yeah.
It's called The Meltdown, and his art is actually featured throughout the movie in the stand-up venue, and also in your apartment, I believe, is like all of the art, all of the stand-up art that you see in the movie is from Dave Klock as well. So that's a fun Easter egg. Behold.
Very cool. Also, just wanted to mention a relevant side note. My parents met when my mom showed up at my dad's comedy show in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Wait, who's your dad? Is he like a famous comedian?
No, not really. His name is Bob Clark.
Not really.
No, he toured a little bit in the 70s and 80s, kind of just in that area, and then in Amsterdam a little bit too. So
that's so romantic. That's lovely. That's the second time we've heard that happening, other than us.
Really? Oh yeah, just us and Kevin's
and your parents. Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, guys. Well, it looks like that's all the time we have. So give a big round of applause to Kumail and Emily.
Thank you. Hey, do you guys still have the Pakistani menu?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you guys still have the Pakistani menu that we?
I believe so. Yes, it is still here at the Alamo. Yes, it sure is. So, and it's selling like crazy. I've just been told. So it's gone over very well.
That.
Excellent. All right. Well, good night, everyone. Thank you guys so much, and thank you for joining us. Kumail and Emily, everybody.
Bye. Bye.